It's me, Cartier, back at you with another Tea and Tarot Tuesday. So nice to see you again. In honor of it being spring, our tea today is a selection of herbs that I grew myself. The roses, high in vitamin C and just generally calming, uplifting, and really good for the heart. A little mint, dried mint for flavor. Mint is very soothing and uplifting at the same time. Both are full of antioxidants. And the inspiration for today's tea is this calendula flower, which I grew myself in my sunroom. It just bloomed. It's a little dried out now, but it bloomed about a week ago. Calendulas are a summer flower, but I moved this potted plant onto my sunroom and kept it alive over the winter, and now it's blooming again. So calendula is anti-inflammatory. It is great if you have tension in the body or diseases of inflammation. Beautiful rose teapot. And I'm just going to, it's full of hot water. I'm just going to put them in there and let them steep. Normally, I would add the herbs first and then pour the hot water over them. But for the purpose of this video, this is going to do just fine. And they're going to steep in there for a little while. And then I'm going to pour them into my beautiful favorite cup, which has a little strainer in it. And that strainer just filters out the plant parts from the liquid. So we will pour myself a little of this beautiful calendula mint rose tea. Beautiful. Okay, we'll set that aside. So tonight I am hosting an event called Tarot and Writing, in which I invite members of the writing community to look at some of the different tarot card decks that I've collected over the years. Let that inspire a creative writing journey. So I thought in honor of this event tonight, I'd show you a couple of the decks that I'm going to be bringing with me. So let's start with this. This deck is a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. It's a very common tarot deck in the marketplace. A lot of readers use it because it was sort of the first tarot deck that was commercially available. What's different about this version of that deck is that it's borderless. And the belief is that by having the cards not have a border around them, is that as you peer into the images, you really sort of sink into the artistry of it, and that inspires your intuitive mind. So it's a little bit of a different take on a very traditional deck. Also on the table tonight, I have the Herb Crafters tarot deck, which goes very nicely with my homemade herbal tea today. This deck, each of the cards is a different garden herb. And in the book, it talks a lot about the spiritual properties of that plant, as well as the medicinal properties. So as we choose a card from this deck, we're going to choose Rose, just like there's rose in my tea. And Rose is the Empress card. So the Empress card in tarot is the feminine divine, the cycles of the seasons, the cycles of the moon, the patience of waiting while we are pregnant with our baby, whether our baby be inside our body or inside our heart in the form of a piece of art or a creative aspiration. So Rose has deep resonances with heart and the many petaled flowers. It's thought to be the mother of all flowers. It's very sacred, very synchronistic today that we have the Rose card while we're drinking rose in our tea. Another deck I have now, this is an oracle deck, the Nature's Whispers deck. And these are just such beautiful cards. An oracle deck is different from tarot. It was created by an artist, and each card has a specific meaning. We chose Shift Your Energy. And then you just look up in the little guidebook what Shift Your Energy means, which was card 19. And there's a little write-up on it. Shift your energy, clear your energy, the energy of those around you and the energy of your environment. Winds of change are blowing into your awareness. In order to prepare for what is ahead, begin a process of renewal. This process might include clearing away the old that no longer has a purpose in your life. It also might mean changing old habits and patterns. An example might be actively avoiding overly sugary foods if you are trying to eliminate sugar from your diet. I'm actually trying to eliminate sugar from my diet. So how apropos that I chose this card. View this as a time of shedding that can be achieved with ease and grace. So that is from the Nature's Whispers deck that I'll have here tonight at my event. Other decks on the table, the Moonology deck. Of course, I am a lover of the moon and a practitioner of living my life by the energy of the phases of the moon. If you want to learn more about the moon phases and their energy, I have a downloadable moon manifesting workbook that I made myself available on my website. It's very affordable. It's only $13, and you can download that and learn all about the energy of each phase of the moon and how to track them in your life. And this deck here is made on the same concept. So there's each of these cards is going to be a different phase of the moon. And we're going to choose New Moon in Aries, another very apropos card because of the astrology of April. The astrology of April, since you all love it when I talk about astrology, we are moving towards a huge stellium of planets in the sign of Aries, which is going to peak on April 15th on the Aries new moon, which is what this card is, the new moon in Aries card. On the new moon in Aries, in addition to the moon entering Aries, Mercury is going to have just entered Aries. So it's going to be moon, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, the sun, and Chiron. A lot of planets in Aries all lined up and working together to create this force of initiation. So this month in April is all about that force of initiation and where it shows up in your life. If you want to know about that, like if you want to understand how this Aries stellium is going to show up for you personally and what it's going to trigger and bring forward in your life, book an astrology transit reading with me and we'll go over it. We'll look at your chart and track where Aries falls and what planets it touches that are in your birth chart, and really understand what momentum is moving. There's huge momentum this month, but it's not really going to land until May. It's just going to be that force of movement this month. But that's very reflected by this card that I chose from the moon deck, New Moon in Aries. So on the new moon in Aries, things are really going to be lighting up in our lives. How cool is that I choose that? I love that about the tarot. The synchronicity is always so fun to play with. Okay. Another deck. This is a traditional tarot deck, meaning that it's the major arcana and minor arcana. This deck was designed by my dear friend Hannah of Hannah's Goth House. Shout out to Hannah. She's here on Instagram. All of these images are drag queens or drag characters standing in for the various traditional archetypes of the tarot, and they're amazingly drawn. She has a very Richard Burton-esque style of artistry. So if you were going to choose a card like this in my tarot and writing program tonight, it might inspire a very cryptic character to weave into your storyline. So shout out to Hannah for that deck. And then one final deck I have to offer you is this deck that's very special to me. This deck was designed by a woman who lived at the Llama Foundation in New Mexico at one point. It is a beautiful off-grid community high up in the mountains in northern New Mexico where people just come together to live sustainably, spiritually, and support each other on that journey. So I lived there for a couple of months, and this deck came from there, and it's a meditation deck. And each image is like a sitting meditator with some particular lens on meditation. This one on the back, it has like some words. This one says, wrap yourself in a cloak of stillness. And it's this beautiful meditator sitting against a green background that resonates with my spirit so much. There's lots of different meditator cards in this deck. This would be a rare deck. It's very special. So I'll be bringing that with me tonight. So I hope this was a fun little taste into some of the different tarot decks that I have collected over the years and what is available out there, and also the beautiful synchronicity that arises when we play with tarot cards. They're truly, each deck is kissed with magic, and it is such a fun journey to play with these cards and see how they speak personally in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Cartier of Providence Astrology.